Everyone knows cars are big polluters. Even with advances to reduce exhaust emissions, they still spew out poisonous gas, right?
Not necessarily. Hi there, I'm Tom from Dream Car Garage on Speed, here to tell you about a preventative maintenance tool that we endorse because it works. This is Terraclean. Now, Terraclean can make a huge difference in the way your car runs. It'll run more efficiently and with less emissions. Now you're asking, how does it do that? By removing carbon deposits from your engine, and more importantly, from your oxygen sensor and your catalytic converters. Now, every car guy knows that a byproduct of the internal combustion process is the carbon deposit. It doesn't matter what kind of car you drive, how you drive it, or even where you live, eventually there's going to be carbon buildup on the components of your engine. And when that happens, three things happen. First of all, your performance and your gas mileage goes down, and your emissions go up. Yeah, I know there's a whole host of chemicals in the market that claim to clean out the injectors, clean off the top of the valves, the spark plugs, in fact, the whole combustion chamber. But the fact is that Terraclean actually does all those things. And while it's added, it cleans off the oxygen sensors and the catalytic converters. There are none of those brutal toxic fumes during the process, and immediately afterwards, you can go ahead and run an e-test. I know it sounds too good to be true, but that's what sets Terraclean apart. So why is this guy getting all charged up about an engine decarbonizer? Well, let me tell you, there's an important point of difference. Most decarbonizers are this chemical soup that you somehow run through your engine, and it dislodges all of the carbon in there, goes out the exhaust valve, and you never have to think about it anymore. Terraclean is not a chemical cleaning agent. Here's how they arrive at the technology. There's this group of scientists. Now, they're involved in the pursuit of creating a zero-emissions engine. Now, they take some gasoline and through a reactor, they molecularly modify the gasoline so that they can run it through the engine in that state. Now, they get awfully close to their goal, to a zero emissions engine, and when they tear the thing down afterwards, they can't find a single carbon deposit anywhere, and it's this technology that Terraclean is based upon. Now, if we're going to understand the science of Terraclean, it'll be helpful to understand the science of gasoline. Gasoline's made of basically hydrocarbons, and there's two kinds of hydrocarbons. The aliphatic ones, which have kind of a loose chemical bond. They're very reactive or else easy to set on fire. And then there's the aromatic ones. They're far more stable and have a much more solid chemical bond. So the aliphatic compounds burn up almost completely inside the combustion chamber, and their only byproduct is water and CO2. So what we have is stuff to make plants grow and stuff to keep them nice and moist. It's a pretty thing. Now we have the aromatic compounds. Now they basically go up with octane, and they leave a carbon deposit when they burn, and they're harder to set on fire. So why in the world would we be developing more and more octane for fuels? Well, the answer is to make power. Now, even though it's harder to set on fire, it makes more power stroke per stroke, and so in today's higher powered, turbocharged, supercharged engines, they work perfectly. Most of the cars that we test, if they're high performance cars, require a higher octane fuel. Now, the byproduct of all of this is more and more carbon deposits. Terraclean is different, effective, and revolutionary for three reasons. Now, first of all, Terraclean is essentially molecularly modified gasoline on the aliphatic side, the kind that lights on fire easier to burn. Secondly, we zap a negative charge of electricity through the molecularly modified fuel using this unit. Now, this whole thing sets up a process called Coulombic fractionation. For all intents and purposes, it makes the spray into very small droplets they call nanodroplets. Now, this fine mist has a lot more surface area, making it easier to combust, and there's more molecules available, particularly more hydrogen to join with the carbon molecules. Now, here's where the rub is. Because the particles are negatively charged, they're immediately attracted to those positively charged carbon molecules. Now, the climax of this whole thing is when they completely oxidize, moving out the carbon as a vapor rather than chunks of carbon, and the exhaust stroke takes care of the rest. Now, here's the upshot of all this scientific talk. Terraclean simply works. Now, all of the other chemicals make the same kind of claims. They will clean the gunk out of the fuel injector, go a long way to removing deposits on the top of the valves and inside the combustion chamber, but what the chemicals don't do is actually take care of the oxygen sensor and then later the catalytic converter. What Terraclean does is continue with the process and immediately clean out the oxygen sensor and the catalytic converters. What the chemicals do is they wash it down towards the oxy sensor and the cat and then hope that somehow it'll get blown out over time, maybe a few hundred miles. Any automotive process based on hope is not something that you want to build your business on. Now, the oxygen sensor is a fairly simple piece of equipment. Basically sniffs the exhaust fumes and then sends that signal to the computer, which reads it. Now, if this thing is gummed up, it's going to ruin the performance of the car. Even the EPA has a test that shows that a sluggish oxygen sensor is going to reduce your fuel mileage. So the OEMs claiming that you should replace these every 50,000 K, let me tell you something. You show this to your customer, tell them it's going to be $100, or in the case of a system with 4 of them, $400 to replace them, and the guy's going to give you a long face. Let's take a look at the results of this independent study. Now you can see immediately the switch rate starts to improve and then quickly goes back to OEM specs. That's because of the complete combustion that's going on around these oxygen sensors and all this extra oxygen around. Now, that's why we say clean these oxygen sensors rather than replacing them. Now, imagine that customer who's got 4 oxygen sensors in his system being told that it can all be taken care of with a Terraclean treatment, plus there's a whole lot of side benefits. Now we get to the catalytic converters. As you know, the role of the CAT is to further reduce those pollutants in the exhaust stream before they go out the pipe. You also know that there's carbon deposits that build up there, causing eventually a necessity for replacement. Now, Terraclean's nature is to attack those carbon deposits, turn them into vapor, and out they go in the exhaust stream. And the beauty of it is that you can do an e-test right afterwards. Now you try that with one of those chemical cleaners and it's going to send that e-test in all directions but the one you want it to go in. Have a look at the results of this Drive Clean test from Ontario. Now note the fact that from fail to pass, only 46 minutes go by. Now we know of chemical cleaners that suggest that you pour this in your gas tank and then burn 2 tanks of fuel through the system. There's another one that says you need to have an oil change. Now try explaining that to your customer. Look, you failed, and what you need to do is pour some of this in your gas tank, drive around for about a week, and when you come back, I'll give you an oil change and we'll retest it.
We sell Terraclean both as an emissions related tool and a preventative maintenance tool. We find that we've seen dramatic results in how well vehicles perform after having the Terraclean done versus beforehand. We've seen vehicles that fail an emissions test perform a Terraclean and easily pass the Terraclean or the emissions test after that.
There's another great benefit of Terraclean that you don't get with the others, especially with chemically based detergents or decarbonizers. Now, if you've ever used something like this before, you know that it has quite a strong chemical smell to it. And the beauty of Terraclean is that you never actually touch the stuff. You simply screw the cans into the top of the device, and once they're there, there's no danger of touching it, actually becoming exposed to it, and when it runs in the engine, it actually creates a cleaner environment. You'll notice very quickly the emissions trend down towards 0. So if you've got a less than ideally ventilated spot in your shop, you can do the Terraclean process there. Here to me is the payoff. Because Terraclean is simply modified gasoline, you're not putting anything into your car that wasn't meant to be there. Now, cars last for a long time these days, and especially the componentry within them. Tune-ups are spaced a long way apart. Now, any successful service center has got it in their heads that they want their customers to leave happy. Now, if you're running one of these service centers, here's a way that you can address the most common thing you're going to hear. I need a tune-up, which means I don't like the way my car is running. Now, here's a way that you can send your customer away happy and deal with a lot more that he may not know about or even care about.
When I picked up the car, I was amazed to find how great it ran and how fast, all the pep that it had. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I can tell the difference of a normal tune-up or like just an oil change, but this was different. I could tell that there were certain parts of my car, noises that it stopped making. It ran better, faster, and just overall better performance.
We sell it as a preventative maintenance due to the fact that we use or service a lot of newer vehicles. We have had several vehicles that have had carbon issue misfires and have had complete 100% success rate in repairing those with Terraclean.
It's the only decarbonizing agent that not only takes care of the top end of the engine, but the oxygen sensors and catalytic converters as well. Now, here's a great thing. Your customer perceives an immediate difference, an immediate improvement. I know this because that's how I got hooked on Terraclean. In terms of liability to your staff and to your customers, this is the cleanest system of all. In fact, it gets better as it runs through the system, creating a near zero emissions when it finishes up. Now, this allows you to use the Terraclean process in even the most poorly ventilated place in your shop, and that actually works to your advantage. Now, there's more octane in fuel than there's ever been. People want more power out of their cars. The downside is we're creating more carbon deposits. Cars are complicated. There's the whole OBD system, and we need scientific solutions to address all of the problems that are common in cars. Well, this is a one-step process that takes you a huge leap towards that. That's why Terraclean says they're taking the science to the streets.